This
You
next,
need something to hang on your wall.
yeah, this next presentation is just sort of a fun little lighter presentation. This is a little overview of the CEIC website. And I want to talk a little bit before we get started about the CEIC website. I actually have a presentation which looks like the CEIC website. So it's 2 slides. Don't you like 2-slide presentations? And so I've only been in my job for 5 years. And so when I got to the census, when I came here, I can tell you that we were basically a library still. We did have tons of information on our website, but it was all static. It was PDF files or it was Excel spreadsheets. And people came in and checked out books and looked at maps. And then the whole world has changed. And so over the past few years, since the 2010 census got past us, because that was kind of a busy time, my staff has done a remarkable job in trying to transform from that static world of data that's old the minute you put it up to a more dynamic world. The nature of the CEIC website is very public focused. So my friends from Centennial here, the dashboards you will see, the ones that we're presenting, are very public focused. So they're not internal management type dashboards, they're more dashboards that just have up-to-date data outward to the world in general. So having said all that, the reason I want to make this point at the front is there's a lot of stuff that's not there. Okay? We know that. We know that there's a lot more stuff we're going to add, and we're going to continue to add. But please use your evaluation forms for this presentation to think about things that you don't see that are up here. There's 4 of us and staff here. And so as a result, we can't get to everything that everybody wants to see, but we have done, I think, my staff has done an amazing job. I particularly want to thank Dick Hansen. Dick Hansen came on 2 years ago? Year and a half ago? Year and a half ago. And I always pick on Dick, and he loves it, because I will give Dick something to do, and I will say, Dick, how hard is it?
It's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, see? And so that's the answer I get every time. And literally, 6 months ago, I came to Dick Hansen and I said, wow, there's this really neat site in Nebraska. I really like this site. I really wish we could do something like this. It's very interactive. It's very, lets consumers get their own data. The whole goal of that being you as taxpayers don't want to pay my staff and me to regurgitate data that's already been published. You want to pay us to analyze the data. So if we can figure out ways to make that data live for you to get yourself, then we can be better doing the things that you're paying us to do. And so I went to Dick and I said, man, it'd be really nice if we could have a site like this. A week later, and I'm not kidding, a week later he goes, well, I kind of have a template up in the work and see what you think. And I was just astounded. So I just can't tell you enough how great it's been with my staff working on this. I know we have a long way to go. I know that there's pieces of the old website that you guys, darn it, I wish it was still there. We're working on it. We'll hopefully get there, but I'll give you an overview of what we have now. And so slide number 2. This is what we're going to cover. So we're going to look at the home page, what's new. Hopefully I have this handout. I think there's handouts. There should be hopefully somewhere in this room, and if not, we will make sure. This handout is available. I don't know where it went, but it is available. Joe, or somebody, you can track that down. I don't know. Unless I've got it with me. It just gives you the overview. It's not in the packet. I don't think it was specific to this presentation. Is it? No, it's this one.
No.
Can you run down and just see? It's probably on my desk. Okay, thanks. So this is what we're going to cover. This is just the index. We'll make sure everybody has this before we go. And with that, here we are. So this is the home page. And what we tried to do is organize the home page into 3 basic areas. So this table right here is an example of one of our dashboards, and I'll talk about those a little bit later. This section talks about what's new. So guess what? here we are at our conference, and that's what's new for us. We try to keep this somewhat refreshed as we add and put new things in. But really the key part of the home page is this bottom section. So when I went through our library and looked at information, it became pretty apparent that things kind of fell out into categories. Now, everybody in this room is going to say, well, I would have different categories. But you're not the Census Bureau chief, so I got to make the decision. And so these are the categories that we picked in terms of organizing the information. And we'll spend a little bit of time looking at each one. But before I get off of this altogether, the other key part of our page is this top menu page, which repeats on all the pages. And so the key one here is if you can't find it, don't know what it is, call us. As I mentioned, there's 4 of us. Those 4 people answer almost 1,000 requests a year. We've been doing that for a long time, and we're really good at it. So don't let yourself get frustrated. Send us an email, call us if you can't find it. Hopefully, as we work together to make this data more accessible, you'll be able to do it quicker. I'm teaching a whole workshop tomorrow on American Fact Finder. American Fact Finder is very complicated. It's very complex. They tried to do everything in one tool. It's not easy, and it's hard to use. And so don't get frustrated. Call us. We like to do this. We actually love to do this. So just remember that's there. We also have the ACS information up here, and then we repeat some of the things you'll see in the boxes below. But this is another place always to look. Okay. With that, I want to show you something. So remember what I said about the Nebraska site? I really like that site, Dick. Really like to be able to do it, and a week later he gives me a template. And so we are actually, this is the first time we are ever going to show this. So this is our new active data search tool. And what we are hoping this allows you to do, I heard lots of people in the room talk about county trends, local trends, etc. We're hoping that as we add more and more data to this, that you will be able to find exactly what you need, mix and match it. So this is the beginning stages of that. It's run off of a SQL database in the background. My old job in life, I was a database person, and so I forgot most of it, but I still managed to put enough stuff into SQL. And then the front end of it uses JavaScript scripting that, and what's the program?
jQuery.
jQuery, thank you. That Dick has done all this work by himself. Remember that. So it's pretty amazing. So this is our new data search tool. The parts to this is the tabs above. And then as we pick tabs, you will see the controls to the left. So right now we've got 2 sections that are active. So if you pick on the people tab, you'll drop down here, population, and it's going to tell you, oh look, you need to pick something. So we will pick something. So let's pick Blaine County and Carbon County. And there you go. So this is the population. Actually, we have population out. We'll keep it up to date through 2012. I don't think that's what's showing yet. It's 2010 at this point. But you can point and click this information for population. So I don't want population anymore. I want to look at age comparatively. Okay? I don't want to look at carbon anymore because for some reason I just don't want carbon anymore. Oops. I want nothing. I just want blank. There you go. So the data refreshes immediately. And I don't know how many of you guys have played on American. How many of you guys have used American Fact Finder? Pretty fast, isn't it? So it's, yeah. I don't know about you. I usually go get coffee when I do the data search American Fact Finder. So I'm really proud of the fact this is very quick. Race, boom. Gender, boom. And again, we also have state level data, so you want to know what Montana is compared to carbon? There you go.
Mary, what are you using as your base for your database?
So the database is a SQL database. So the
mean,
data itself is coming in this particular example. It's mainly CPS data, current population surveys from the U.S. Census Bureau. It is the most accurate for population, gender, and these factors. When we get into the labor data, you'll see we're using BLS data, the EA data, other places. And as I mentioned, we just started on this in terms of adding the data. Once we got the tool up and working, that's the big thing. And now you just keep the data, put the data in and keep it refreshed. So the other great thing about this is, so I know that all of you use this data all the time. So guess what? You can download it. So you can download it as an image. So yeah, pretty fast, huh? Love that. And you can save that. My friends at N10U are going, yeah, well, no big deal. And then you can print it just like that. So
Can you download the data itself
you can.
for GIS purposes?
Yes, you can. So, yep, the whole spreadsheet itself. I think that was one of the options right here. Download data. See, he does that for me because I'm slow and I need clear direction. There you go. Isn't that great? Come on, you guys, isn't that great? So, like I said, in the old days when you went to CEIC, it was static. So the day it came out, it was old. Now we're hoping to make this so every time the new data comes out, and I'll show you some of that later, you're always going to have the freshest data and you can go get it yourself. Now, population, gender, age, etc. are nice. So what we're going to start doing is adding these other sections. So we already talked about population. So select populations will be veterans, disability, kids under the age of 18, folks over the age of 65, certain demographic groups. Migration, that piece that we talked about with Joe this morning, projections. And then households was the other one we thought we'd do. So things like average household size, income for households, just the makeup of how households look. With the American Community Survey coming out, that allowed us now to have this kind of information every year. It's estimates, but now we have it every year. That happened in 2010. Before that, we only had the long form census, which happened one time in 2000, and then that data, you could use it for about 3 years, and then it got pretty icky. But now they do the survey every year, so it's a lot better. So let's look a little bit. The other area we've added is labor force. So, oh, look, there's my message from Dick, because Mary's slow. Select from dashboard to the left. So let's pick, let's pick let's pick us. Ooh, it may not work. It's not working, Dick?
Oh, that one?
Fallon County worked. This one didn't. I'll pick a different county.
Why wasn't that?
Don't you hate that one? Yeah, the first graph's not working.
Okay, I'll have to look at that.
It's always good when he's here, isn't it? Oh, darn it. But again, it's the same concept. So we have labor force, unemployment data. This data, instead of coming from the CPS or the census, is coming from the BLS. And so, like I said, brand new tool. Hopefully we'll keep doing this. So let's talk about the areas. Housing, we're talking about doing information by housing units. So the components we're thinking about is median price, number of units in the state by county. And again, all this information right now is state and county level. The idea is to then add geographic components, reservations, school district, legislative districts. We will stick to things that are census tracked or census based geography unless somebody can give us a really compelling reason to do something different. Census geography goes down to the block level, so that's 2,000 people. Anything below that point, usually the data is kind of anecdotal unless it's a survey. So, business data, we're going to do things like type of business, occupations, etc., or type of business, earnings, etc. Labor force, like I mentioned, we've got workers, wages, and occupation. Education by type, by sector, and then, thank you, Joe. Government. So one of the things that we did this past year was we teamed with the Government Training Center at the extension at MSU and got their data. And so for years, I don't know if any of you guys have ever seen this, but they used to put up a huge wall chart that had all the mill levy data and said this is how much this county by mill levy, so weeds and total appropriations, total mills, etc. So we have that data. We've partnered with Dan Clark and Paul LaChapelle. And so we're going to be putting that up so you can actually look mill levy comparison. So those of you tax folks in the back, that'll be awesome because you can start saying, how much is this county milling for safety versus this county? That data's never been done before. I mean, it actually lives, the data lives in a bunch of file cabinets. And so MSU, those guys went to a huge amount of effort to record it all, put it all in, and make it accurate. But we already had the tool, so we said, hey, we'll build it. So, as I said, if there's areas looking at this new tool that you can think of that you want, again, very public focus. My friends at Intenio do much more sophisticated dashboards, etc. This is trying to reproduce what we had as a library in an electronic form. No, I forgot where I was going. Isn't that terrible? Don't you hate when you're old? All right, so now we'll go back to the home page. So I'm going to stick on that little box over there. So I was down here in this area profiles box. And this time I'm going to go over here and look at the state legislative district. So Leslie put this up for me. I'm pretty sure this is not representative of the new districts. With the census we had redistricting. So I think this data is not quite up to date. And the reason I'm pretty sure of that is because the ACS estimates have not come out yet. They come out, yes, in December. So we will be refreshing these districts as we have that new data available. But it still allows you to pick your district for you legislative folks and look at all kinds of things from the lovely American Fact Finder about every legislative district in the state. So we'll work on that and get that data together for you guys. But again, that's the overall by district. You can also go down here and look at American Fact Finder. When the government's working, you can look at this. All kinds of things you want to know about every district. Again, this is a great way to get an overview of the data, etc. If there's some specific needs you have, pick up the phone, send us an email. Okay, moving on. Economics, back to the home page. So let's look at these boxes down here. So we're going to talk a little bit about the economics and business box. So this has the different, and I'm going to use this term dashboard. Now, there's lots of things about dashboards. There's different kinds of dashboards, etc. Our dashboards are designed to provide public information that's used a lot in real time. That's what the purpose of our dashboards are. So we actually have a subscription through a company that lets us, they do the plumbing into the data sources. And it's easier to see this when you actually look at it. So this data is as up to date as it possibly can be. So the source that we use, DataZoa, they build the plumbing into these sources. And then we embed these tables in our site. And the minute new data comes up, the newest data is out there. Because why? Because I don't want to pay my staff to type data into websites. As a taxpayer, if it's already published, I shouldn't be recreating it, regurgitating it. I should just have it out there and alive. So, and Joe actually is the guy that built all of these dashboards. So if you hate him, his number is 841. But most of you will love them. The DataZoa tool has been a little clunky in creating these tables and embedding it. They're actually working on it. They're coming out with a new release shortly. Hopefully we can do some things that we're not able to do now. The look and feel of this dashboard is really set right now. So we're hoping they allow that different. Other states have also adopted this. If you go to some of the other state websites, particularly state data center websites, there's a couple of them that are using this same tool. But what's great about it is, what's great about it, Joe?
I don't ever have to deal with it again.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't have to deal with it again, and it's always whatever figure is the most recent is out there. Well, that's nice, Mary, but what if I want to see the trend? Well, actually, you can just click on any one of these, and it will give you the trend. And with the next version, we're going to work a little bit closer on downloading the trend. That was very clunky in the version that we have, but you can actually get these so that you can actually download the data as well. A lot of the data is going to be available at the state level only because that's the nature of the data. Not a question of Where we can, we'll try to do it at county levels, but a lot of the data just really is not very available at the county level. And probably using that search tool for some of these things might be a better way to capture it. We're still working out how this one works with that one. But so the economic outlook. So these are all the dashboards. So it also includes charts, graphs, total people in the labor force, employed, again, most recent data. You'll never see an October number for some of this data because they weren't collecting anything. The feds were shut down because of sequester. So that will be a blip. A very sad blip, actually. Unemployment by sector, etc. So that's the economic dashboard. We also have an industry dashboard. Same look and feel, some of the repeated data, but this one's more industry focused. So where are people in Montana working? How many establishments there are? And so as I mentioned, some of that search tool thing, which will drill down to the county level, will reflect this same aggregate data that we have at the state. Getting all these packages to talk to each other is a little challenging. We're working on it. So that's the industry dashboard. We also have a labor force dashboard, which again, same basic things. And then a couple other things down here. So we have this links to economic data sources. So this was, for those of the economists in the room, this is just some real common economic sites that you might use. This actually includes a lot of the federal sites. We have another place on our website that includes not all non-federal sources for data with the sequester. We put that site up and we're not going to take it down until at least March of next year, given that they only did an extending resolution through January. So we'll probably keep that one up and then add to it. Just recently, we just added this agricultural commodities dashboard. So these data sources, if it's publishable, and not all cases, this is not all government data. You'll see that more at the energy site, but most of it is obviously only government is big enough to collect the data. It doesn't make a lot of sense a lot of times for private businesses to collect it. So a lot of these sources are going to be governmental. For wheat, production value, for harvested. So if you don't see something in this table or you don't see the table you want, let us know. Particularly if you have an identified source that you know, the two things we need is we got to be allowed to reproduce it. So it can't be something that's private. And it's got to be something that is a trend. So we don't want like one point in time. Like I've been trying to find something for mineral prices, and I haven't actually found a really good site yet for mineral prices that we can reproduce that actually has trend data. It has.
Can I throw one more thing in there?
You can throw it at anything you want.
So the way this works is essentially Bureau of Labor Statistics collects unemployment data, right? You can go to Bureau of Labor Statistics, find the unemployment rate by month for the state of Montana. We could go in there, download that, put it in an Excel spreadsheet, put it on our website every month. And to get away from doing that every month, us having to sit down, download it, put it on our website, we purchased this product. And so the way this product works is it taps into available data that's already out there, generally federal data. One of the caveats is we have this issue with the Energy Information Administration, EIA. A lot of the data that they produce is in Excel spreadsheets. And so this is hooking into the back end of a data warehouse or a data database. And so because of that, if EIA just updates an Excel spreadsheet every week, we can't necessarily hook this up to an Excel spreadsheet that's updated every week by EIA. The way that the tool is working is it's actually hooking into the back end, the query portion of these federal sites, BEA, BLS, things like that. So that's one thing to keep in mind is it has to be republishable, but it also has to be in a format that this company is recognized and is able to plumb into. So like they can get into FRED, the Federal Reserve Statistics Branch of St. Louis, BEA, BLS, USDA, that's where we got those ag stats. But just because the data is available doesn't necessarily mean that it can be plumbed with this product. So like Mary said, there are some downsides to this product, but there's some upsides as well. So that's just something to keep in mind.
And if there's something that you really feel needs, has wide use, again, public outward centered database, if there's something you really feel needs to be up here, I am willing to let my staff occasionally download Excel spreadsheets and put data up. I just don't like it because I want to make it as effective and efficient as I can, but I'm happy to do that. So I'm going to actually skip over to the energy. I'll go off topic because I always do. Let's talk about the energy thing because that's real similar. You're going to see these same tables. So Dick put this site up for us in terms of work closely with the Energy Promotion Division. This is, of course, our favorite little friend up here. But so this site was put up. Most of our clients in CEIC are of two types. They're either the public or they're other state agencies. So in this case, we actually worked with the Division of Energy and Promotion and Development Division. So you'll see their site there about what we should put in these specific dashboards. So we have the overall energies by sector sites, and then we have some for coal that are based on coal prices. We have some for oil. Same thing, coal production by. In this case, because the data is not live, as Joe was just mentioning, we just had to put up the static sheets. My favorite one, actually, though, is this one. So, as you all know, there's this thing called the Bakken going on, and Joe's going to talk a little bit more about that in his population projections. But I think this is one of the most important sites on the CEI website in terms of the Bakken and giving you that look. So this actually has field production of crude oil, and you can see what's been changing. Hopefully this works. Oh, good, look at that. So, yeah, isn't that interesting? Look at those up and down trends. And then we'll click down here, close window, look at North Dakota. Oh, yeah. Pretty amazing. So we actually, because that's such an important part of Montana, here's the rotary rig count and oil production in Montana. Again, it's important to keep an eye on these axes because they are not the same. So we're talking here 3 million barrels. Yeah. And 20, and then we per month, thank you. Thank you. And then we go down to North Dakota and look at 20 million barrels per month in rig count. So there you see the North Dakota, Montana. So if you looked at the two graphs in isolation, you go, well, we're holding our own, but because of the scale, we're a tenth of what the 2 million compared to this 25 million.
Can I say something real quick, Mary?
You can say anything you want.
So this is a perfect example. The oil production data comes from EIA. It is an Excel spreadsheet that DataZoa has recognized as an important data source, and so they figured out, because that Excel spreadsheet doesn't change in structure and location, they figured out how to tap into it, and so it updates automatically. The rotary rig counts comes from Baker Hughes, and they have, DataZoa is not tapped into Baker Hughes data. And so because of that, I go to the Baker Hughes website every Friday when it's published, and I download an Excel spreadsheet, and I type in the number of rotary rigs for the 6 states that we have that we think are, we track: Wyoming, North Dakota, Montana, the U.S., and I think there's another one in there, Texas or something. Anyway, but that's just getting to the point of that blue line. I go in every Friday and statically put that in manually into our cloud account with this company, because we felt that this is a series that's very important. It gets a lot of use. People want to see this. But that's something that we don't want to have to do with a whole bunch of series, because then it's just basically no different than updating Excel spreadsheets every day.
So we love the way that this is going, but yeah, we'll always hope for more. Electricity, same thing. Electricity prices.
The top.
Did you guys know this was on the site? How many people knew all this stuff was out here? Oh, that'd be none of you. Oh, there's somebody in the back. Thank you.
Do you use the Google Analytics to track the traffic on your site?
We're using Urchin.
The Urchin?
Yeah. And it's as good as it is, but we have had a dip, and then now we're starting to grow again, because what did we do? We took down the old site. And so all those links and everything else broke. And we kept the same main page, but I'm sorry about that. I wish we could have done that differently, but it just didn't make sense as we tried to move into this all new software, all new way of thinking about the data. So But the old stuff's still available, usually we can find it. And the same thing with Hydro. Now Hydro again is one of those ones where we just don't have a live source that Datazoa can tap into. So we end up putting things up that we have to type it. But I don't like doing it. So the maps we actually, this is a map that Leslie Zolman did from one of my staff. She's actually the one presenting on the second floor right now. She is an amazing resource to CEIC. Remember how many people we have? 4. And so she actually does all the mapping for us, etc. So as you click in, you can see more detail on what the costs are, access more features. So speaking of maps, on our website, okay, back to home. So we've covered economic and business. I'm going to go back to this one. Let's talk about map resources. So this is the Leslie Zolman site. So Leslie, when she got here, one of the things she said is, Mary, we absolutely need to get on board with this new ArcGIS online. And I said, well, what is that? And she said, well, we just absolutely need to do it. And so I trusted Leslie. She actually won an award last year, the Outstanding Significant Achievement in GIS Award from Esri, the people that make ArcGIS Online, for this site. It was the best advice I ever got. And so we have this interactive map site. If you want to know more about this, you should be downstairs in the second floor, because she's actually doing a training on this ArcGIS site. But we are going to post, all of the presentations will be recorded, posted, etc. Those are go-to meetings, so the quality we're hoping of those workshops will be a little better than just some person talking to a camera. But she's put up all these maps, and this is an interactive tool that lets you play with the maps, look at the maps, add the maps. I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing this today just because we got other stuff to cover, but I urge you to go to this site and look at what you can do in terms of finding more maps. See, we have 10,000 different layers that you yourself can add to maps, change things, look at legends. It's an incredible tool. Once you make your own map, customize it, you can save it. You create a URL, you can embed it into your website. We don't care. Do whatever you need with it. So I can't begin to tell you all the ideas. And we work really closely with the state library, their new portal site on maps. Leslie and Aaron Fashway, who's also training on the second floor, are responsible for putting up most of that site with the new state portal to these maps. So you'll find that on mt.gov. So, like I said, she's put up all of these different interactive maps that you can use with as the base, and you can customize them the way you want to. But maybe you don't want to customize anything, you just want something old. Well, we have our old, good old static PDFs of historic maps that she put up for the library of things that you're looking for. And what happens when you don't find something? What do? You pick up the phone or send us an email. Okay, we've gotten through. Let's go back to the home page. We've gotten through economics, maps, area profiles, energy. I am going to go to my favorite topic because I'm a geek. Current and historic population estimates and rankings. So this actually shows you the past. Here's the 1890 by county. Love this. Hopefully it'll come up. Oh, it did. So all the way back to when the first censuses were done for Montana, which I believe. So we don't really have really great numbers until 1920. Look at that. So 2010 we were 989. We did pass 1 million in 2011. So now that message actually is coming from the U.S. Census Bureau because we actually tap into one of their sites. So this is a embedded program from the U.S. Census Bureau, but we felt just because it was, fine. Stuff that people needed on a regular basis. we wanted to make sure that you guys could get it here quickly. So here's just some easy stat stuff that you can grab for any county. As we put more and more into that search tool, you probably won't need to use this as much, but for now, this is also up here. But again, what did we see when the sequester happened? We got a nice message that says, we have shut down all of the websites. So this tool actually was not functional at all. We hope moving forward we don't have more days like that. Did I miss it? I don't think I missed it. Oh yeah, here. So we also have the estimates that coming from the census and then the historical census figures. And I'm going to let Joe talk a little bit about this site. So Joe, I'll drive, you can drive or talk about it. And
Oh, right now. Yeah, so this is basically just the population projection stuff that I talked about earlier. REMI, E-REMI, this is where everything lives. Link at the top there to the company, to Regional Economic Models Incorporated. Like I talked about before, maybe all of their models and things are all published through peer review on their website. If you need something, some light reading to fall asleep to at night, they've got
I'll wait till it comes up.
a bunch of stuff. So anyway, that's just addressing where we get the information. The first data link, Montana state totals and county comparisons, just some summary stuff. At the Montana level, total population, age group, change over prior period, things like that, both PDF and Excel format. For some of this stuff, RIM's not going to work.
Yeah.
And then some ranking tables, just Montana county comparison tables, total population and total population change over prior period, both XLS and PDF. If you want to go back. And then, like Mary showed you earlier, these are just total population by age, by gender, for all of the 56 counties in the state.
And no, projections are not available at a smaller group level.
They're not. Counties as small as they go. A general rule of thumb, and this would be my recommendation, one of the things that is not unique to Montana, but is interesting, most of the counties in our state only have one quote-unquote urban area. Richland County has Sidney, Dawson County has Glendive, Custer County has Miles City. And so a lot of people will call up and say, I want to know the population projection for this city is going to be. And even though we don't have that, what is done the convention, and is something that I think is about as good as it gets, is you take the county, you look at the last 20, 30, 40 years, and look at the city population, and take a relative percentage of how much that city's population is of the total county, and see how that's changed over time. And then you can apply that to the county population to get some sort of back-of-the-envelope estimate of the city's population. You're assuming a whole host of factors there, but it's quick, it's down and dirty, and that is the recommendation that I generally give if you are looking for a city area. Now, if you want to know like what the population of Bainville is going to be or something, or you have another urban area in that county, you could do something similar, but you've got some migration, urban, rural, you got a whole bunch of other issues that you're throwing in there, so, you know, be careful with it, but yeah, like Mary said, county level population projections are as detailed as we get geographically speaking. So this is just Remy's website, right? Documentation. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll let it run for a while.
Yeah,
And
Remy's
then-
not too happy. And then what I'll be talking about here in a few minutes, the Eastern Montana population projections. I won't go into too much detail, but again, if you have insomnia, you can read that PDF.
And then the different
that I
population
wrote
projections.
on the methodology. So, and I'll go into detail on these in that presentation, but this is where all
It's
this
a
stuff
teaser
lives.
for the next presentation. So there's the documentation for Remy, so you can see they've got the E-Remy product, everything that. I don't,
Yeah,
you can, it's,
you can tool around in there anyway.
and
That's
if you
where
need
it's
something, you
at.
can't find it, what do? Call, email.
Yeah.
Do you do age by gender, by county?
Yep.
And you, oh, that's great.
Yeah, we don't. Remy does. That's the other reason why we bought these, is when people are mad, I didn't make them. No, my model. Yeah,
Give you their phone number.
that's right. But yes, it is by county.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, so we've covered that. Let's jump over here real quick to income and poverty. Again, these are a lot of static stuff because we just are moving it all into that search tool, but it is up there because we knew people needed it. And there's always links. So we get a ton of data from BLS. Barb Wagner will be presenting later today. We also have the IRS stuff, people in the back. And I think that's something that you've really seen a difference in. Hopefully this conference reflects that. Our friends from particularly the epidemiology group here today are presenting. DLI is presenting. We have national folks presenting. We really are starting to share data across agencies because we can. Before you couldn't. And it's a lot easier now. There's still ways and ways to go on that, but I just am really proud of the collaboration I've seen going across. So there's your income data. Same thing with poverty. A bunch of boring links mainly, but we'll start adding that. And then health insurance, that's a big issue. The new health insurance information will be coming out here real shortly. And you can go to the link. It's going to pick it out because they do have, oh, go away. Hate that. They do have tools right here to do on the Census Bureau. We're not going to recreate anything that somebody's already done unless we can do it better. And again, a lot of the problem with some of this is to do those kind of trending comparisons like you saw with our search tool, you can't get that at the Census Bureau level. And I actually am vice chair of the state data centers for all the Census Bureau. And so if you don't like something that you see on the census site, you can let me know. They're used to me complaining. Okay, back to that homepage. So we've covered economics, poverty, health insurance, area profiles, energy, blah, blah. Let's go look at international trade. So one of the cool things we did, as I mentioned later, most of our clients are other divisions, other agencies, if it's not the general public. We are fortunate enough within the Business Resource Division to work with the International Trade Group, and we love the International Trade Group because they're really fun and they talk about fun things. And so one of the things that we do every year is work with them in terms of exports. And you should know that once again, exports have been a great place in Montana. This is a tiny decrease, and think about that in terms of the economy and all the things that did and how wonderful that Montana has maintained that export capacity. Again, this does not include bulk grain. So the minute you put bulk grain in there, we actually exceeded last year's exports once again. The nature of the entrepreneurial spirit of Montana and how we're able to tap into these markets and do these things, I think is amazing. And you say, well, that's really interesting, Mary, but tell me more about it. Okay, well, I will. So Leslie Zolman put up this great site, which actually has a lot of blobs on it, but what's cool about it is it's these little blobs represent countries. Ooh, I got a little excited there, didn't I? And so because you always wanted to know what we export to Mali, you can. So this actually tells you in 2012 what the rankings are and what we exported, the total overall exports and what we type by type. So here's an example, great, of a country, see again, that got opened up. And I'm going to credit a lot of this to our international trade group downstairs that work all the time to find different markets, different ways to work with these countries. Our biggest trading partner is who? Canada. Look at that. $634 billion. And again, this doesn't include bulk grain. So, and why doesn't it include bulk grain? Well, the problem with bulk grain is we put it in train cars and we ship it to a port and it gets mixed in with Nebraska and Kansas. And so we don't know which grain then goes, how much of the proportions go into where. So, correct?
Yeah, all this export data, two things I'd say. It comes from Wiser Trade, which is actually a company that basically just duplicates the wheel. The Census Bureau actually collects all this stuff.
Yeah,
the Trade Bureau within the Census Bureau.
Broken link.
Yeah, so Wiser actually reports this stuff and it's at the port level. Whole grain's not in there for that reason that Mary just said, because our wheat will get trained at different ports, and then it gets mixed, and then it gets shipped. And so it's really difficult to figure out, how much wheat from Montana went to Japan, Asia, whatever. USDA does do an estimate on that, and so we do have those figures, but it's from a different source. The other thing, too, to take into consideration is this is tangible good exports. This does not capture the value of service exports, right? Cloud computing technology, tourism, things that service, people coming in and using our doctors in our hospitals and things like that. That kind of stuff is not captured. This is only tangible, you can touch kind of goods, cars and, boats and whatever. So that's two things to keep in mind when you're looking at export stats, not just for Montana but other places. The service-related exports in Montana are a huge value to the state, and they're not necessarily captured in these figures especially.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we have similar, you guys have similar data for imports?
Yeah. Wiser and, I guess the Census Bureau, they have imports and export data both. International trade is just worried, the International Trade Division is concerned with getting our products out and bringing the money in, and so they don't really focus on, imported goods and buying other people's products. So it's not really focused on, but yeah, that data is available through Wiser.
So this is one of my favorite little pieces of the graph. That's the exports to China. Look at that. That's in 10 years. And some of this always, again, is about how good is the data? As good as it's reported. Remember that. So when we work with some of these countries, you'll see weird little blips. And some of that, obviously, is not that we changed exports, but that we got better data or it was reported better. But I can actually say that, there's just been this huge increase in the amount of goods that Montana business producers are getting into these markets. And what always fascinates me is we have things that I just didn't even know we did. Blood products is a huge industry in Montana. Did you know that? I didn't know that. That's in some of the European countries that we do. Am I perfect for my job? Do I get excited about this stuff? Yes. And finally, to be on time, we have our Learning Center. So you will see here in the Learning Center the reports. We are actually going to put up a different box for this conference, so that will be there, and I will send out that link so you don't need to worry or make note of any of that. But here's the different reports. These are actually reports that Joe did about what the economic benefit is of different programs using the in-plan modeling software of the Department of Commerce. So the Big Sky Trust Fund grant money that went out into the Montana economy, what did that money do? The leveraged monies, it created jobs, it created tax dollars, friends in the back. You can tell I like those TPR people. So that's the kind of analysis that these reports show. We also have industry reports, employee reports, population reports, government reports. Some of this is data that we've gotten from other places, and then some of it is in-house. Presentations. So you like what you saw today, you'll be able to get these because we always try to put our presentations out. If you use them, please cite us. That's the only thing I ask. And don't change the data. To show
You're no fun.
I know. Profile women in Montana, that's what I did with the Women's Foundation. So we're going to make that into part of our search tool based on the wage and equity push by the governor's office. Presentations, trainings. Right now there's not much up here. We'll probably condense this into our conference page, but this is that interactive map. So Leslie actually recorded a YouTube video to how to use it. So if you can't make it to a training, can't watch the presentation, you can also watch it on YouTube. Webinars. So back to that, I'm the vice chair of the Census State Data Center. So right now, every state except Oklahoma, because their legislator killed it, has a data center that produces census information. Montana actually chose to make it broader, so we do economic information in census, but some of these places just have a census data place. And a lot of them are one-shop people. But cumulatively, it is an amazing resource. And so what I have done, this is actually a presentation that I'm going to provide as a webinar to the U.S. Census Bureau, is put together this site, which is the State Data Center Clearinghouse. And so what you can find here, now I know this is like, whoa, Mary, you just went somewhere different. But it's important to know this. So what you can find here is every webinar that I can possibly find that the Census Bureau has recorded by topic, and also what state data centers have recorded. So if you run into a data series and you go, I have no understanding of how this data series works, I don't know what it's about, this is a really great place. This SDC Clearinghouse is all you need to remember. State Data Center Clearinghouse. Just Google it. This is the only place that will come up. The other thing for you, those of you, if you're anything like me, I haven't really had too many original thoughts in my life because I borrowed it from somebody else. And yes, that is me if you want to know when I looked younger. So I actually put up here, on behalf of the nation, because I am me, presentations from every state data center that I could find since 2010 going forward. So these are the links to those presentations. So let me tell you, I think Texas does like Google something. I mean, there's just tons and tons of ones on every topic that you can possibly think of. So if there's a particular topic you want to research, presentations here. If there's a particular topic you want to present, you probably will find it here. If it's related to census or anything census related. And there's also, you know, the transportation, there's economic, there's farm, there's all kinds of stuff. So it's a really great place to look if you want to find out if there's a presentation that's already been done, either as a webinar or as a PDF or PowerPoint. Okay, enough of those people. And finally, this link. So one of the things we did during the sequester, because everybody shut down, state data centers across the country went, wow, we need to step it up for the Census Bureau because they turned off the website. They actually went in at 10 o'clock in the morning and were told just to shut off the servers and put up that message. So there wasn't a lot of communication that went on because they didn't know if there would be a last minute deal with Congress. So what we did, Montana actually did this, is we put up this site, which is a useful links site. And right now what's important about this, and I'm going to add this into the title, these are all non-federal sources for all of this data. So population estimates, census data, American Community Survey data, PUMS data, GIS shapes, etc. All that data, these are non-federal sites. So the other thing about this, particularly places like Missouri Population Center, they've actually been funded for a really long time to get data. They have a wealth of stuff on their site. Same with Missouri. They have all kinds of tools because they've been a sponsored state data center for a long time. So those two sites in particular. So if you can't find it in American Community Survey data on AFF or something, these are other places that you can look that are non-federal sites, often adding analysis from other places. And back to home. And so we have covered, I believe, all the different areas. Does anybody have questions? What's missing? Anything? Oh, I overwhelmed you. Good. So hopefully we're going in the right, do you guys feel like we're going in the right direction? Again, trying to move from that world of the book and the paper to more electronic, interactive, make the tools available so you guys can use the data yourselves, download it, find it, etc. My staff is amazing in terms of what they've been able to do. I just can't take enough time. So
I saw there was a listserv on the state data clearing website.
There is.
Do you have one for Montana?
We don't. I don't know. I don't have one, I guess, just because we're four of us. So we haven't actually set that up, but that could be something we looked at. I know Leslie is really big into tweeting and those kinds of, we have the ability to do social data, etc. So there's a reason to have an RSS feed. So listservs. We have our email mailing list, but we don't really have a listserv.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking more in terms of just kind of building the community of people who use it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great idea.
What about education data?
So one of the things, if you go back to that search tool, a couple places. So I'm going to try to do this without thinking about it too much. So here I know that some of this data drills down to the school district level right there, Gail. But the other thing is on our new, now that we've got the tool up and working, education will be one of those areas that we will have data. So these are going to be the broad topic layers, and then you'll have, similar to what we have, you see here where you click on, okay, things about workers, and you'll have the radio buttons over here to choose
So
by topic area.
Graduation rate.
Right.
and things.
Graduation rate, retention rates, major degree for those in the higher ed communities, things like that. Things that make sense at that level.
Can you query by judicial district?
Not yet. And that's actually something I don't know that we would do because that's not a census-based geography. We try to hold pretty close to what's census-based geography. But as I mentioned earlier, we like to collaborate with other agencies, so maybe the folks down in the Department of Justice would be interested in working on that. That's a good idea. Like with the local government data, I mean, we're looking at can we do that at the mill levy districts, shapefile, not a census-based. Right now we can only do it at the county level, but who knows? Because I think more data is better, not because you need to have more paper and facts and stuff in your life, but I just think more informed decisions. My tagline on my signature, for those of you that haven't seen it, says everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but not their own facts. And I stole that from Patrick Moynihan, because I believe that's true. I mean, I think just having a basis of the data makes for good conversations, makes for good planning. If we didn't do the census, we wouldn't know how to divide up legislative districts. We wouldn't know how many voters we have to do that appropriately. I will tell you right now, there is nothing in the budget for the 2020 census. So,
You mean the federal
the
budget?
federal budget, there is $0 for the 2020 census. Yeah. So, I don't know, maybe we'll just all raise our hand. I don't know. Other questions?
Well, call your name, say here. I was trying to find, we used to have the tribal area profiles. Are they still on there?
They are in the ACS as a static page. So when the new data comes out, we will update those. They're way down at the bottom. The 5-year summary. The reservation data was not compiled until 2010. That's the first time it came out. And so now as the new ACS data comes out, we update that profile. But that will be one of those geographic areas that we will be adding. That's actually part of a grant that we're working on, so that will be an area we probably do sooner than maybe some of the other lower level geographies. It's 11 o'clock. Promise to be on time, so unless anybody has other questions.
Can I say one thing quick? Two, we are a state data center, but like Mary said, there's a couple of sponsored ones. Minnesota's one, Missouri's one. We don't get $1 of federal money. We're 100% state funded. So it's a working relationship that's semi-voluntary. So the amount of work that Mary does for that data center network is phenomenal. And it's a huge benefit to the state, but it's not because we're receiving any money from them. So.
The fact I do it totally voluntary gives me the right to complain.
I'm sorry.
No, it's an amazing, I mean, the amount of people and the resource that is amazing. And we're really trying to work on the Census Bureau understanding how amazing that is. They have the mindset that if we put the data out there, that's all we need to do. They don't understand at all how much you folks use all that data. And I really encourage you, if there's one site you also go off of our site, please explore it. Please tell us what's missing. But look at that clearinghouse site and all those presentations, because I think what it will do, if it does to you what it did to me, is it'll start spurring conversations in your head about, wow, these folks are doing this with this data, these folks are doing this. I mean, there's 357 presentations on that site that I found. And I found them based on just going to each of those state data centers and searching them.